Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to The Reckoning. We have a very special story for you today. I don't know if you remember this or not, but a couple of weeks ago, a video went extremely viral of a guy in an airport in Istanbul, which is in Turkey, if you're bad at geography like I am. So this guy was captured on video by actually not just one, but several bystanders, apparently, flipping his lid in this airport in Istanbul because the airline that he was flying with, it was a connecting flight, had apparently lost his dogs. They weren't allowing him to see his dogs. So without context, this video went super viral. It got, I think, 9 million views on YouTube, 6 million on TikTok. Usually those are flipped. It's interesting. But this guy was just totally losing it in this airport. Like, you know, I mean, you can see it here, but at one point he falls down on the floor. He's screaming. He's yelling at people. So obviously the internet had its debate, mainly over whether or not this guy was overreacting. And the vast majority of this debate took place outside of the context of people knowing actually what happened. So some people were saying, you know, this guy didn't go far enough. If that was me, I would have lost my freaking mind. I would have been throwing hands with people, yada, yada. On the other side, people are saying, you know, it's just a connecting flight, dude. Your dogs are fine. Don't worry. Just relax. This is you being a drama queen. So in the aftermath of this, as it gets more and more popular, people start doing some digging. And I decided to find out exactly what was going on here and why this whole thing took place, how it was handled. Did this guy ever get his dogs back? Yada, yada. So before we get into the weeds, as it were, let's take a look at the video again.
Where's my dog? This shit's company! This is horse! This dog is his horse! This is devil! I want to see my dog! Where's my dog? Where's my dog? I have 4 dogs! 4 dogs! I can't see my dogs! Where's my dogs? I want to see my dogs! Show my dogs! No, I want to see my dogs now! Where's my dogs? Where? You're crazy, my dogs!
Sir, don't
this is my life, my children! My children! I want to see my dogs! Where's my dog? They give me my dog! It's a Turkish company! I have 4 dogs! 4 dogs! 4 dogs! They give me my dogs! I don't know my dogs! Ah! My dogs! Where's my dog? Show me! Show me! Show me my dog! Show me! My dog! I pay everything! I pay everything! My dog! I want to see the dog! No, my dog! Where's my dog? Where's my dog? Where's my dog? Ah! My dog! I want to see my dog! Where? My dog! Got it! Where? Where's my dog? Ah! 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 No! My dog! Where's my dog? You got me! My dog, Romeo! Romeo, que morrer! Romeo! Romeo, que morrer! Where? Romeo! I didn't see Romeo! Romeo! Where's Romeo? Romeo! Ah! Romeo! 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 No, Romeo! I want to see Romeo! My dog! Where's my dog? I don't know where's my dog! Romeo! Romeo! Can I get my dog? Romeo! Romeo! God! Linda! God! We went to Linda!
Kendine çekiyor. Siz bana söyleyemezsiniz.
My dog! No! No! Where's Romeo?
Evine geçiyoruz. Aynen abi.
So this apparently went on for some time until the airport police showed up to help try and solve this problem. So obviously the internet became very curious about this guy and his plight and what happened. Did he ever find his dogs? Did they actually lose his dogs to begin with? Or was this just a big overreaction? Because if you're like me and you've seen a lot of public freakouts, which probably if you're subscribed to this channel this early, you probably do. So you'd be forgiven for looking at something like this and going, okay, this is another drama queen acting way out of proportion to the situation. His dogs were probably fine. There was a rumor going around that this was just a regular connecting flight and that he wanted to see them immediately, but they had already been boarded onto the connecting flight so that he couldn't just see them right there, but he didn't understand and he wanted to see them. That's not actually true. So let's dive into the weeds here and find out exactly what happened. First and foremost, important to note who this guy was and what he was doing. So, and I apologize if I butcher your name in advance, my friend, but this guy's name was Joao Paulo de Costa, a dog breeder of Papillon Spaniels in Santa Catarina, Brazil. So when he says, these dogs are my children, they're my life, they literally were. He's a dog breeder. This is his entire existence. And seriously, if you go on this guy's Instagram, he's got 30,000 followers, and it's probably from this whole blow up, right? But his entire Instagram is dedicated to his dogs and how much he loves his dogs and the shows that his dogs and he and his dogs go to. So even by, dog lover standards, he's really, really into his dogs. So Joao and his troop of adorable pooches, which included Cisco and Afonso, were accompanying him to a dog beauty contest in the Philippines before this incident occurred. Now, Joao and his dogs were supposed to board a connecting flight in Istanbul on the way to Switzerland, but the airline had informed him that his connecting flight had been canceled due to overbooking. Naturally, his first concern was for his 4 dogs whom had been on the flight with him. So that debunks the rumor, right, that this was just a regular connecting flight and he wanted to see them in between flights. He was told as he stepped off of the first flight, as he was coming out of the gate, right, he was told immediately that his next flight had been canceled due to overbooking, which obviously led him to ask them to see the dogs, and the airline informed him that they couldn't find his dogs and wouldn't be able to show them to him, at which point he launched into the now famous public freakout that was captured by all of these people and seen by millions. So he characterized the initial confrontation like this in his own words: "When I approached the airline, people started running away and didn't want to explain what happened," which obviously would make you really nervous and make you think, wow, they literally lost my dogs. He said, "I have 4 dogs in the hold on this flight. I want to know where they are. If my flight was canceled, I want to see my dogs." So apparently when the airline was unable to show him where, or even tell him where the dogs were, and they were running away from him, not wanting to answer his questions, he made the assumption that, wow, they have fully lost my 4 dogs, and he began to genuinely panic. So what we were watching was not a Karen's overreaction, right? It was a real, out-of-body experience of genuine grief. And Joao even went on to later describe this as a supernatural force that had overcome him because of how upset he was. However, a few minutes later, as he became too much of a handful and made too much of a scene, the police that were at the airport at the time showed up, and after learning what had happened and why he was upset, actually sided with Joao against the airline and demanded that the airline show him to his dogs. Maybe they're dog lovers themselves. So these police instruct the airline to locate the dogs and reunite them with the owner. And obviously, right after this happens, Joao is overcome with joy. He says, "From the moment I saw the dogs, I calmed down. The dogs are my loves. I didn't have the chance to have human children. They participate in dog shows with me, and we have a very happy life together. I would do anything to protect them. They are my life and my world," which just brings a small tear to the corner of my eye and melts my cold, dark heart. And now that a ton of people are following his Instagram, they're asking him, actively for an update on what happened. Turns out he was reunited with the dogs. They all got to Switzerland just fine and lived happily ever after. And he released this video shortly after to clarify everything.
Eu gostaria de contar e explicar uma situação muito triste que aconteceu conosco. Nós estávamos voltando das Filipinas e fizemos escala na Turquia. Eu, Gabriele e nossos cães. Quando chegamos na Turquia, eles cancelaram nosso voo. Quando eles cancelaram nosso voo no portão de embarque, eu pedi informação sobre nossos cães e as pessoas começaram a fugir e não queriam explicar o que tinha acontecido. Por esse motivo, eu realmente entrei em desespero e fui tomado por uma força sobrenatural e graças a Deus foi tudo resolvido, a polícia chegou, nós tivemos a chance de ver os cães, porque a companhia aérea não nos deu informação. Graças a Deus chegamos bem na Suíça, está todo mundo bem feliz aqui.
And just as a bow on the whole story, for those of you that were wondering, well, did the airport ever actually respond to this? They caused a lot of chaos here in this whole mix-up, this whole confusion. So an interested Redditor who is just as curious as we are decided to reach out to the airport in Istanbul and ask them for their side, and they only had this to say. So, dear, we'll say Redditor, regarding the issue, please note that the dogs were shown to the owner of the dogs. The passenger who was the owner was calmed. The problem was resolved. We wish you healthy day. Best regards, Istanbul Airport Customer Service. So there you have it, folks, and we can draw two final conclusions from all of this. First and foremost, this guy was reunited happily with all of his dogs. Everyone is safe and sound, probably back home in Brazil by now. And second, I don't think that this guy, given all of the circumstantial evidence that we have just uncovered, was being melodramatic. Now, I know that it was a dramatic reaction. He was obviously very upset, and it's rare to see someone freak out to this degree and say that was justified, but I only have one dog, and I know if he was lost in a transit flight by some incompetent airline's malfeasance, I would lose my ever-loving mind. They would never hear the end of me. They would have to drag me out of there in handcuffs. I would dedicate my entire life and existence to making them as miserable as possible in revenge and retaliation for them losing my dog like that. So I guess I can actually see exactly where this guy's coming from, and I don't think that he overreacted at all. If you disagree, I would really like to hear about it in the comments below. Maybe you still think he was being a drama queen, and we'd like to hear your opinion too. That's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode, much shorter than the last couple, but when the story's done being told, the story's done being told. So I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I will see you next time.